Oh, and here we are, going live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Probably saying that a few times till we get some people in. Oh, you join us today on what is a very, very cold and frosty morning in Yorkshire today. Oh, good morning, Jen. Good morning from Hamburg. Good morning to you. Like I say, it is a very, very cold morning here. I think it's -1 still. Still haven't got those gloves. Henk, good morning to you from the Netherlands. Good morning. Good morning. And John, it's very crunchy and crackly underfoot. No snow this week, unfortunately, which is quite a surprise given I know that other areas have had a deluge of snow. But this is all just frost this morning. Like I say, it's -1, so it's been very, very cold, which is actually quite good for a walk. But other than that, it's been quite good. How am I doing? I'm doing very well. I recently had a job interview on Wednesday for a job that I would quite frankly love to get. It's working up at a old country house doing their communications and marketing called Wentworth Woodhouse. So I'm looking very much forward to see what the results come of that. Like I say, it's a 2-stage interview, so I've done the first stage, just need to see if we get through to the second stage, then we need to pass the second stage. But other than that, yes, it's been a quite good week. I'm preparing for some D&D tonight with some friends. Other than that, yeah, it's been a nice, quiet week. What's this, Alan? Good morning. Don't try buying your gloves from the EU. 20% VAT plus import duties. Yes, that is true. Don't worry, we will be talking about that later, as always. But oh, thank you very much, Cloudhopper. Fingers crossed. Thank you very much. Like I say, good morning from the East Hull. Good morning to you. Hopefully the traffic is a bit not causing you too much problems. Oh, someone good morning from Denmark. Good morning from Germany. We're about to get our weather. Good luck. Like I say, it hasn't snowed here this week, surprisingly. How are the British fish doing? I will find out in a bit, because I keep on saying this. I really, really do. Hopefully this will be the last time we cover some nonsense from America, because I always find it just fun to start up with with quite frankly what's been going on in America for quite a while, and I think it gets us warmed up for the rest of the fun and frolics that we're about to have. But for those of you who don't know, Joe Biden won the election, in case you hadn't heard. I know there's a certain, shall we say, selection of the America and the Republicans who definitely thinks that they didn't win. Oh, Douglas Adams quote there. So long and thanks for all the fish. So, hi from Thailand. Good morning to you, or afternoon. I don't know. Is it afternoon, Thailand? Possibly. I don't know. I don't know the time zones, but I know you're probably ahead of us, so it's probably like late evening for you. But yes, I did say that there was a certain senator that we had to watch out for. Why are we watching out for this certain senator? Well, turns out she is an open advocate for QAnon. Yes, there is a actual full-on senator, and bear in mind, most senators aren't, shall we say, have repeated QAnon talking points, but they haven't come out and say that they are like full-on Q supporters. This senator indeed has, and her name's, is it Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think is her full Senate name. It's just absolutely insane what she's done. She's essentially gone and filed articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. Yes, you heard that correctly. A QAnon supporting, open QAnon supporting senator has gone and essentially filed open articles of impeachment against Joe Biden for essentially the actions of his son, for essentially just doing business. And as some people have pointed out, she claims that the claims against Joe Biden are long and detailed, but they are so long and detailed they only fit on 2 sheets of A4. You know, it's, you'd have thought that the Republicans would have slightly learnt their lesson with what's been going on, and at least tried to rein in some of these people in the Republican Party, especially now that we're going to see Trump's impeachment trial, which we're probably going to have to report on that as well on a couple of Good Morning Walks, because I'm sure there is going to be plenty of stuff that comes out during that as well. So, you know, each time I say, greetings from the left US coast, good morning to you, Prinny Bird. So, good morning. Yes, we're just talking about, is it Marjorie Taylor Greene? I'm sure you know her. The open QAnon supporting senator who's just filed articles of impeachment, of all things, against Joe Biden for that essentially mount to a massive nothing burger. It's so bizarre, but there you go. And I'm probably a bit late to the party on this, but I'm going to make a slight prediction. I predict that Joe Biden is going to have a load of articles of impeachment filed upon him. Why? Because I think that any, shall we say, up-and-coming Republican who wants to try and make a bit of, shall we say, political clout in the party, maybe even try and get a Trump endorsement in the future, might just decide to randomly file for anything and everything Joe Biden slightly does in the future. So even though Trump has been a twice impeached president, I think Joe Biden is definitely going to have lots of articles of impeachment filed against him, because I think that well, shall we say, the Republicans have lost control of the wheel of much of their party. And yep, you are right there, son of Viking. Trump's base is now up for grabs. So it's and as we know, about, I think it's something about 30% of the Republican base are still like full-on Trump supporters. Yeah, you are right. You are right there. Pelosi won't allow them to go forward. But there's no base for them anyway. They're just based on, you know, complete ridiculous conspiracy theories that have come forward from the QAnon, based on Hunter Biden's son, which, okay, he's not as nepotistic as Trump is, because Trump's, two sons and daughters and, stepson were all in the administration, all making money. And if I were Joe Biden, I'd go after them. I'd launch an investigation into what's been going on, see how much, shall we say, money Trump has made and used, his sons. Well, that's what I'd be doing if I was a Democrat. I'd be going, okay, if you think Hunter Biden's a valid target, then I'm going to go after the little Trumplets. I'm going to go after them, because I think there could be definitely a lot to said about that. But yeah, so that's the ongoing craziness in America. Maybe one day, we might not have anything to report from America on a good morning walk. Who knows? Maybe one day when it's returned to its senses. But I don't think that will be. I don't think that'll be for some time to come, if you ask me, to be honest. Ratmash, Bowler Hatman, he is a scary prospect for you. Could Boris Johnson end up appointing Trump as some sort of advisor like he did Tony Abbott? I don't know if he can, but that would be bizarre. And I don't know why he would do it. That would be tantamount to political suicide, because you've seen all the because I know I know what a lot of you come for, so we're in pony territory now. So because of especially the a lot of the Tories were heavily on the Trump train, for promoting Trump and his dodgy dealings, especially during out through his administration. It's been very interesting to see that all of a sudden, all of them, from Farage, Michael Gove, and all just suddenly abandoned Trump and jumped ship. So the likelihood of him coming aboard, ex Conservative Prime Minister of Australia to come aboard is very, very unlikely. However, he was brought on because the UK is desperate to join another trade bloc with rules pretty much almost amounting to the same as as what we were with the EU, which is kind of bizarre. I thought we spent all this time, according to them, to get out of that type of relationship, and yet here they are wanting to get back into another very similar style relationship, which is speaks volumes. But as we promised, it's time to talk about Brexit. Because, oh boy, have we got some possible fun this week. So it all really kicked off on Monday, where we essentially had been hearing reports for quite a while that many fishermen had essentially not gone out at all since the new year, and many of the especially the pro-Brexit newspapers had been all but trying to ignore them. The problem is these stories became absolutely deafening. In fact, there's pretty much been a story a week, almost a story a day about the fishing industry, which is really highly unusual for for the UK media, because as I said, they never ever got any attention because they're a tiny industry, fighting against, a changing world that is leaving them behind, and the only organisation that actually supported, fishermen and their towns that they came from was the EU. Not only did they get, money off their fuel, they were part of the common fisheries policy. They could sell their catch a lot easier into the EU because of that, and being in the customs union as well, and single market. They didn't care, but they love to complain. And as always, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But unfortunately, this squeaky wheel got a very unscrupulous mechanic called Nigel Farage, who essentially, rather than actually try to help and apply some oil to that squeaky wheel, essentially just let the wheel squeak, and recorded it and played it as much as he possibly could to anyone who would listen. And unfortunately, this did very well, obviously, in the referendum. Talks about, taking back control of the British waters, and British fish, even though there's no such thing as a British fish. This just hasn't gone the way, many fishermen thought it would. But unfortunately, for the first time, we told you so. We warned you about the dangers, about what was going to happen. And unfortunately, we were drowned out by many of the Leave campaign and the Leavers, which was a shame. But now you're starting to see it, and we've seen it plenty of times this week. Many fishermen who said if they knew this was what was going to happen to them, that this was the deal they were going to get. Oh, sounds like an absolute load of dogs over there. I don't know if you can hear them on the camera. But yeah, many of them have been saying they would have never voted for Brexit had they known that this was what they were going to get. Brexit is turning out to be like the monkey's paw. Whatever wish the Leavers made is turning out to be a double-edged sword. And the fishermen are, the first lot of, shall we say, serious block of the Leave coalition that is taking the brunt now of Brexit. And I do feel sorry for them. I can't, I don't want to laugh at them. I don't want to, say, haha, you're losing your business. Because that'll be wrong to do, because, as I've said before, you've got to have... You've got to have a bit of compassion for these people, They were conned just as much as anyone else was in this whole sorry scenario. And this is going to cost them livelihoods, their jobs. It's not going to be good. You've only got to look at the numbers of what some of them are saying. There was the woman on Sky News. She was a prominent vote for fishing voice. Her lorry got stuck at customs and she lost over £300,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to lose. Just trying to see if we can see all those dogs. So you can hear them. I don't know if you can hear them on the camera, but it sounds like a whole heap of them over there somewhere. Can't see them. Stop now. Oh no. There's one. Oh, can't hear them now. But yeah, I mean, £300,000. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money for a business to lose, especially when you're looking at the size of these, these fishing industries. And of course, it's not the fishermen themselves. There are many parts indeed to the fishing industry itself. They've also got the processors who process the fish once they're caught. They're also suffering as well. And in recent years, and especially in recent times, it's not the fishermen who have become the centerpiece of the fishing industry. It's been the producers, the processors themselves who have become the center point of the fishing industry. So as a result, they're suffering as well. And many of these processors have been the ones that have been, providing the jobs in these coastal towns. So there's going to be a lot of very, very hard times for these communities that rely on the fishing industry for, jobs, and especially a part of their income from their town. So, I said this year is going to be very hard for a lot of people, not just because of Brexit, because of the coronavirus itself. And the Tories are in no way competent enough to solve the problem that we are in, because to do it they actually have to get creative, come up with solutions to problems. Problem is, the Tories don't so much as come up with solutions at the moment because they're married to their ideology. The problem is, if their ideology isn't working, or something isn't working, it's not the ideology that's wrong, it's clearly something else. And as we quoted this week from the video on Britannia Unchained, a lot of the reason why workers are not, why Britain isn't productive as it should be, is because of workers being lazy, because they're protected by workers' rights. So, yeah, we've got a very, very worrying time ahead. And it's all comes to the point of we don't know what's just going to happen. But so as you can see, I'm just down by the river. So as you can tell, nicely overflowing because of all the rain we've had and the snow melting, and now it's a bit frosty as well, so that's going to cause even more flooding down here. So you can see here, down there it's all flooded. Normally that water wouldn't come up to there, just down that bit there, but now it's as you can see, it's going high enough. And yesterday when I came past, it was even higher. So at least the river's going down a bit. As you can see, just back there, little piece of land there, that's normally quite large, but as you can see, because of the flooding, it's covering everything. Luckily, at the moment, there hasn't been too much major flooding in Barnsley. We've seemed to have managed to escape some of it. I know some areas of the country haven't been as lucky. Of course, this on top of the coronavirus and of Brexit has been was predicted, especially the flooding and Brexit. But it's been in terms of stuff happening this week, it's been all about the fishermen, really. And of course, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they keep to their threat, because the Scottish fishermen came down and protested on Monday, being the big areas of the fishing industry that got hit because of Brexit. Indeed, many of them were essentially saying, look, we can't survive another week like this. You've got to do something. And one of the big things that would actually help save them, we've said this before, would be to rejoin the common fisheries policy. It would actually help alleviate some of the stress that these places are under. And the thing is, a lot of the Brexiteers and Brexit supporters have been very split on this. Some saying that, it's more than just teething problems. That's it, just teething problems. It'll go away. Of course, for those of us who know about Brexit, these problems aren't going away. They're here to stay. This is the reality of what a lot of these Brexiteers voted for. Well, think they voted for. Shall we say, Brexit supporters think they voted for something better. Of course, turns out that's not what they're getting. It is going to be a very interesting year, to say the least. Hopefully, we will be able to put pay to the coronavirus this year, and at least things will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, by the end of the year, things will return to some sort of normality, at least. And we can we can but hope. So that's obviously the hope that we have. But of course, if the fishermen have their way, then hopefully this week it could be even more interesting, because the fishermen have threatened to turn up to the houses of many of the, shall we say, politicians. Although what they should be going after is the Brexiteers, because they're the people who are most responsible for their current woes. But much of the Tory party is responsible for, again, their current position. So I can't really blame them for their target of choice, because they've said that if this continues, well, all they're going to do is they're going to come back, as they said, in about a week's time, and dump all their rotting fish on the in front of the houses of the Brexiteers, or well, the current government, and outside Number 10, and outside on the Houses of Parliament. And oh boy, if they follow through with that threat, then that's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed if they do follow through with that threat. Sorry, I've just realised that my chat had stopped there. I'm just catching up there now. So hopefully I will be able to see your messages now. I've been looking at it, I'm like, strange, I haven't seen any comments pop up for a while. But yes, yeah, it will be hilarious if they start going to the fishermen just start turning up and just dumping rotten fish on Jacob Rees-Mogg's doorstep. But the person who they should be going to as a target should absolutely be going to is Nigel Farage, because I don't know if you saw during Nigel's videos where he was clapping for the NHS. He was out with his pots and pans. But Nigel's got quite a nice large driveway, so I'm sure Nigel's driveway can accommodate quite a lot of rotting fish. So absolutely Farage should be a target for the dumping, and we'll have to see what happens, whether they follow through with their threat to do this dumping. Hopefully it will. It'll be quite fun if they do. Yeah. Yes, that would be quite good. Drawing big smiles on them. Look, these are the happy fish that Jacob Rees-Mogg talked about. Of course, what would be even more funnier is Jacob Rees-Mogg, or a video of Jacob Rees-Mogg walking down the street, and then him being chased by fishermen just flinging fish at him. That will be quite funny. That would be quite funny indeed. Oh, here we go. So as you can see, we are in heavy ice at the moment, so we're just going to go. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Breaking the ice. So yeah, in terms of the fishermen, it's where do they go from here? So now I think in terms of strategy for us rejoiners, our best I don't envy you. I'm chilly this morning and I live in Jamaica. Wow, it's that cold over there, really? I picture Jamaica as not being a place that actually gets cold, but there you go. So what do we do as rejoiners? Well, this is actually a bit of a golden opportunity, because you're now starting to see, as we've said, a lot of these fishermen saying, I'd have never voted for Brexit if this was the idea of, you know, what happened. So what we need to do as rejoiners is to join hands with the fishermen, of all things. We need to reach out to these guys and go, this isn't what you were promised. You were lied to. You were far better off in the EU, and start making the case for all the things that the fishermen lost in terms of subsidies for fuel, fishing rights, landing rights, ease of trade that they've lost through all these times, so that this, whenever a fisherman comes on TV, instead of them saying, I would have never have voted for this, what we need them to start saying is, we were better off in the EU. That's what they need to start saying. And so to that end, we need to reach out, especially the rejoin campaigns that are going around. They need to go out into these, you know, we need to reach out to these fishermen, you know, the fishermen and, you know, the processors. We need to reach out to them, even if they did, you know, vote for Brexit, even if, you know, they did say nasty things to us. We need to reach out to them and say, We're here for you. We didn't lie to you. We told you the truth. Unfortunately, you didn't want to hear the truth, but we're here now for you. And we'll hope that you hear the truth and that you speak the truth. Because if we can turn the fishing industry against the Brexiteers, they've just lost one of their biggest rallying cries and weapons against rejoining. And yet, somebody just said there, the fishing industry is almost ready to collapse. And you are right there, Shinzed. That's another coming interesting crisis, because we've already been last year about, farmers not having enough hands because they couldn't get, European workers to come and work their fields. Farmers are suffering as well. This is the thing from the Viking. You actually do want these people on your side. And here's the thing, you don't have to get 100% of them on your side. You only need enough of them on your side. You need enough of them on your side, raising such a voice, such a mess of a voice, that it becomes deafening. This is what Nigel Farage and UKIP did. They were this tiny, considered lunatic fringe of a party. And yet, they became such a powerful force because they were the squeaky wheel that got the grease. Because they were able to siphon votes away from, the Conservative Party. That's what worried the Conservative Party so much. That's what eventually forced all this nonsense, because the entire thing within the Conservative Party itself was just an absolute powder keg waiting to go off. And I know a lot of people are saying we need a rejoin party. I don't think a rejoin party for us is going to work. It has to be Labour. And I know that says, well, why can't that be? Just look at the circumstances that arose from this party. UKIP was massively funded by millionaires and billionaires. What types of millionaires and billionaires are going to fund the Rejoin Party? Yes, there may be some that will do it, but not to the extent possibly of even UKIP or even the Brexit Party. So there's the issue of funding first, because you've got to get people to run. The next thing is, we saw at the 2019 elections what an absolutely stupid idea it was to say we're going to try and force a hung parliament. It was an absolutely stupid idea. And I was saying, I even have videos at the time telling people, please do not waste your vote voting Lib Dem if you know that, you have such a slim majority. And a lot of these Labour counties did have increasingly slim majorities through a lot of changing circumstances. And of course, we all knew there were going to be Labour supporters who, depending on how hard they wanted Brexit, if they were hard Brexiteers, they were going to go and vote Brexit Party. And if they were any type of Brexiteer supporter at all, they would vote Conservative. And that's what happened. And that resulted in the situation that we are in now. And to a large extent, the Lib Dems were responsible for this mess that we're in. So I will say this now. I was once a really big supporter of the Liberal Democrats. I did think there was a serious chance and a serious case for them to get in. You are right there that the anti-Brexit message, but it's not an anti-Brexit message we need to be pushing. It's a pro-European message that we need to be pushing. Our way back into the EU is not going to be through a pretty much straight referendum. What it is going to be, it is going to be involving us, informing the British public, informing the British electorate what we have lost and what they have lost as a result. And then it's through us doing those types of campaigns that make them rethink and making them more pro-European in their outlook. And then it's, well, shall we rejoin things? Shall we forge closer bonds? And then it's this, then you can start to say, we'd have more of an influence and say on some of these things if we were in this programme, if we were in the single market, if we were in the customs union, if we were in the EU. And slowly but surely, our path back to the EU will not be an instant thunderclap to rejoin. It will be a slow and yet long process of being able to make people realise, and especially businesses, because businesses are the key. Because once businesses start to really talk to their Tory MPs about, do you know about all this frictionless, hey, we want less friction in our trade, you know, it all adds up. It all adds up. Just because they've got to do paperwork, that's more red tape for them, and that is a cost to their business. And speaking of red tape, another interesting story popped up this week. Someone mentioned at the start, a lot of businesses who have been doing, shall we say, sending packages to Europe and their customers have essentially been talking about how their customers, when their packages arrived at the door, has arrived with £100 customs fee. And as a result, the customers in the EU have said, well, I'm not paying it, send the package back. And then this results in another £100 fee. So now that package that they sent might cost about £200 to pay for, which has resulted in probably the most shocking story of Brexit coming out. That businesses, rather than retrieve their products, and just listen to this, because I think this is a huge story when it really comes to it. Rather than retrieve their products, they have said that it is cheaper to actually burn them. Just think about that for a second. It's cheaper for a company, a British company, to burn their returns from the European Union than it is for them to actually retrieve the package. Just think on that for a second. That's insane. That can't last. That is, that is just an economic impossibility. And we've talked about this before. When you strip out, the Remain, Brexiteer arguments, whatever, if you strip out the whole politics argument and you just think of it from a pure business point, if you're a business and you were exporting your goods or services to Europe, let's say Bowler Hat Inc. was a company, and it made 50% of its product or its profit from selling to the UK, and then it made its other 50% from selling to the EU. Under the current rules and under this Brexit agreement, half of my business is now unprofitable. It's just unprofitable. What's going to happen to your business? Any person who is at least, sensible about business will tell you that this is what's going to happen. From a straight business perspective, if you lose 50% of your business, and that business was relied on you exporting your goods or services to Europe, all of a sudden you're in a bit of your business is in a bit of a sticky wicket. It's a bit of a sticky problem for you. It's one of those situations where you look at it and you're like, as a marketer, you bizarrely get involved with a lot of business sides. You really do. More than you'd often think. And when I worked at the marketing company that I was with a couple of years ago, very often you'd have a couple of businesses coming to you who were really hard up for it. And sometimes you'd have to just sit them down and say, spending money on marketing maybe isn't at the moment what you need. What you need is you need to really take a serious look at your business before you come to us. Then we can help you out. And, that happened. And a lot of companies are now looking at their business who have had their, the income slashed, increased export costs through essentially red tape. It's shocking, as we said there and earlier today, that companies, it's cheaper for them to burn the returned product than it is to actually retrieve it, because the people at the other end have refused to pay the customs charge. It's absolutely insane. And this is where it all comes back to. The message that we need to be spreading now is not an anti-Brexit message. It's a pro-European message. That's the message that we need to get now. And like I say, as I was just saying all but a few moments ago, if we can get the fishermen on side, or at least a good quality of them, and get them to start saying we were better off in the EU, that's going to turn a few heads. That's going to turn a lot of heads. And that's going to especially upset the Brexiteers, people like Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we get revenge for all this. We turn their closest allies into their greatest enemies. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just one of the ways we get back into the EU, because it will not be too long before businesses start saying we want less friction. And the only way you do that is if we keep, or we at least keep up with EU regulations, because that's another interesting thing that still has to happen, another potential scenario, because we've not just got to worry about the UK deciding it's not going to keep current EU regulations, it's going to get rid of them and deregulate them. We've also got to worry about a position where the EU raises regulations on its side and expects the UK to do the same. As we said we would. It's a very, very worrying time indeed for for everything really. It is a very worrying time, and especially this year is going to be very, very interesting in terms of politics and Brexit again. And even though, you know, oh yeah, what about the EU ambassador? Yeah, yeah, we haven't even talked about that yet. You know, it is absolutely crazy, but that's the situation that we're in terms of business. It really is. But yeah, the EU ambassador is a. I personally can't believe it. It's just so petty. For those of you who don't know what's going on, the UK has essentially denied the EU's ambassador full diplomatic rights, which is completely bizarre, because 147 other countries give the EU that right. Exactly. Why? That's everyone's question. Why? It just doesn't make sense. It's just such a petty move. And this is what we're also going to be seeing this year as well. We're going to be seeing similar moves by that. Just really, really petty moves by Johnson and the government to... I don't know. It's just a political brinkmanship. Yeah, and you are right. It's just a storm in a teacup snub there by what Son of Viking said. You are right. It's something, you know, but it's just such a petty thing to do. I just don't understand why they've done it. Yeah, that's one of the reasons they've stated they don't want to set the precedent for an organisation being done like that. But there's no other organisation like that in the world that has so much power equal to a nation state. You know, every other country recognises that fact. And what's even more bizarre is that the UK helped push for this fact. That's the scenario. And one thing I've heard whispers talking about is the whole reason. I think Son of Viking just mentioned it there. Too late now. Probably missed his message there. You know, the whole reason why they suspect they might have done this is they want to essentially downplay the European, the EU ambassador, so that they can try in an attempt to try and, essentially deal more directly with the other countries in the EU. That is what is being reported as to why it's being done. It's the exact same thing that the Brexiteers were constantly talking about, of that somehow when we start talking, different EU countries will start demanding different things, and that this will somehow play to our advantage. Well, once again, the Brexiteer Kool-Aid is definitely still being drunk at number 10, because this move to downgrade the EU's ambassadorship is exactly the same move. It's an attempt to try and say, we don't want to deal with the EU, we'd rather deal with individual countries, and that's not going to fly at all. So, yet another petty attempt and ridiculous attempt to try and say by the Brexiteers of We don't need to the EU. We can just ignore it somehow, and it'll go away. Unfortunately, the EU isn't going anywhere. It's it really is ridiculous the more you think about it. But it's just such a petty story. I just can't, it's just unbelievable. There you go. Breaking more of the ice. As someone said, wellies engage.
Yes, all that. There we go.
So, as usual, it's very bizarre. Oh, that's a bit deep. That's a bit deep. That's a bit deep. There we go. There we go. There we go. That puddle was a bit deeper than I thought. Nearly went over my wellies then. But yeah, I think this is just another petty attempt by the Brexiteers in the government to try and essentially say, we don't want to deal with the EU anymore. We're going to try and ignore you as much as possible. And as a result, the UK is on its way to becoming a pariah state within the EU, which is it just boggles the mind. It really does. But anyway, we're coming up to the end of our little walk together for today. Yeah, you are right. The Switzerland would never do that. It would never risk its deals. Oh, Pistol Whip, thank you very much for the $5 there. Thank you for the support. But yes, we are coming up to the end of our little walk today. So if you've got any questions or anything like that, feel free to put them forward and I'll try and answer them to the best of my capabilities. But of course, if you would like to support the channel, and of course, please do hit that like button. Wow, there's over 163 of you in here. So please remember to hit that like button. That always helps spread the love. And of course, hit the share button as well. That also helps. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where, well, you can buy me coffee. So thank you very much to the people that do already support me that way. Your support is very much appreciated, as always. And so we've got a couple of minutes before we head off into the great blue yonder that is the weekend this week. So like I say, if you've got any questions or anything like that about this week, before we go, while you're getting your questions in, did anyone see Question Times? not Question Time, Prime Minister's Question Times. Oh, don't worry, we've got a pony, and we had a pony at the beginning today, but don't worry, hopefully there will be a bit of pony action as we go up here. But yeah, the fact that Theresa May seems to be the only Conservative holding Boris Johnson to account, which was absolutely flabbergasting. It really was. It was absolutely flabbergasted that we had Theresa May, of all people, holding Boris to account. And now this sparks another interesting question, because thank you very much for the €5 there, Schwartz Kurz. Thank you very much. I will definitely keep it up. Don't worry about that. Thank you very much for the support. And this raises an interesting question, because what about... Oh, we haven't even talked about Nissan, have we? Oh, something else we're going to talk about. Don't worry, I'll make a video. In fact, I've got a really good article about Nissan coming up this week. I think it's going to be worth a read. because things for Nissan aren't as all as they appear. And I know a lot of Brexiteers are going to be crowing definitely soon about, haha, Nissan said they're going to stay. Again, don't count your chickens before they hatch on that front. But yes, Theresa May, of all people, holding Boris to account. You mentioned Nissan earlier, sorry about that. Like I say, again, so much can sometimes happen in a week that you miss out stuff. And like I say, the Nissan stuff definitely needs to be talking about. So it is very. So don't worry, I will do a video about Nissan, because even though they've said they're, quote, staying, doesn't mean that they're going to stay. You know, like any business, no business would instantly say, we're in trouble, we're sounding the alarms. You know, no business openly would do that. So, and again, it's a typical, very, very Japanese style way of announcement of what they've done. But like I say, I've got a very good article that we'll go over next week. So, as always, thank you very much for joining me on this Good Morning Walk. Thank you for joining us. Please do remember to hit the like button on your way out. And of course, have an absolutely fantastic weekend. Go out and enjoy yourselves if you can. Of course, be safe. And if you can't be safe, be sensible. And yeah, just, you know, go out, enjoy yourselves, have fun, have a fun weekend. Like I say, watch out, because like I say, I haven't covered some stuff this weekend, but because again, like I say, you get talking sometimes and you get waylaid talking about different stuff, and then you talk more about other stuff. So other than that, yes, thanks for all enjoying it, as always, and we'll see you all next weekend for another Good Morning Walk. So see you all soon.